Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I'm fine if you want to put the bar down, just ask. Today, we're talking about the Nitro Team TLS, a boot with excellent adjustability, amazing shock absorption, excellent longevity of flex, and with a very comfortable liner. And other than the occasional tangled lacing, there's not much to complain about it. I will be occasionally referencing the Ride Deadbolt and the Bataleon Acid BOA, two boots I've ridden a lot and compared against this one. I've ridden these boots in just about every condition, and they've been my primary for this 2024-2025 season, but I have tested them in the past and ridden them also in the 2024 season. They seem to be almost exactly the same as the ones that I rode in 2024. And I just want to take a moment to talk about my sponsor, Flower Board Shop. It's the brand that's helping us bring honest and objective content to you. They have a strong online presence. They've been selling snowboard gear longer than some resorts have been allowing snowboarders on the hill. So if you're in the United States, give them some love. These weigh 2.2 pounds per boot, which is a little heavier than the Venture TLS at 2 pounds, but a lot lighter than the Select TLS at 2.6. The Bataleon Acid BOAs are 2.4 pounds, and these Ride Deadbolts are 1.8 pounds. So let's talk sizing here. I'm a size 9E. E is a bit on the wide side. It's small for a wide and wide for a regular. This liner with a little neoprene and medium but not super thick foam. It's only really thick in the top. As you get down in here, it feels thinner, and this fit my E-width really well, and it felt like the perfect match to a true size 9 US boot. So these seem to be spec'd perfectly sizing wise, and I didn't even need to heat mold this liner. It felt very comfortable almost day one. I did have some downward pressure on the top of my instep, which is about a 10.5. but it broke in over time. After about 3 days, I didn't even feel that downward pressure anymore. And there was a little bit of a tight feel on the back here around my Achilles heel, but that's slowly going away as well. So let's talk about the lacing here. You can see there is an upper and lower lacing system that's completely separate. You take these, you make sure they're not tangled, and you just basically pull up and back so it clicks into this little locking system here, and it tightens up and releases really quick. Inside you have a lacing system just like this, and you put it opposite of each side. It clicks in and you pull it up and it fits tight. It doesn't secure across the top super well, but when you tighten up the tongue and the outer part, it really fits around my calves and shins so well that I didn't really miss what most other liners have, a Velcro or a strap system at the top. I forgot I needed one. So that was very cool. And this is about as fast on and off as it gets. Sometimes these get tangled and it slows you down, but I do like it better than double BOA systems like the Bataleon Acid BOA boot that are much slower to get on because tightening BOA just takes forever, and about the same getting off. This does have a nice side Velcro and then a little harness inside that you pull up and push down to tighten. And same goes with the Deadbolts, but there is Velcro on either side. I find that the heel hold is pretty good with these. Again, I have swollen ankles and I've never had problems with heel lift, but I think most will appreciate this. And you can always put some boot fitting foam in the side to tighten it up there if you do. A lot of people don't do that and should look to that. So let's take a look at the flex. I'm gonna flex from the top here forward like you would in a boot, not from the back. And you can see it's got a medium-ish flex. And the response is similar on snow to the flex. It can work with just about any board I've paired it with, from aggressive, hard to turn, more powerful freeride boards to medium-ish park boards and everything in between. It never overpowers a board and it never feels too underpowered. I love this kind of medium, bordering on medium stiff flex. If you compare that to the Acid BOA, it has a very similar flex, maybe a touch more give here, but this has about twice as many days, but both retain their flex very well. And then this isn't fair because I've ridden this Deadbolt, as you can see by the wear all over it, a lot. I'd say I'm probably 40 days. So you can see this has an easier forward flex, but when it was brand new, it was about the same as these, and it broke in a little bit over time. But in terms of construction and flex retention, you have a very stiff, aggressive, hard rubber, almost plastic backstay here that goes almost all the way up to the top. And then you've got a little room here to make sure it doesn't bite into your calf and it's soft there. Then you have this articulation point. You have neoprene right here, and it allows this boot to flex forward easier. So that combination, along with the overall construction, is going to make the flex retention last for a long time. And this seam here seems to be very well done. I usually don't like seams in the top of the boot right there, but it seems to be holding well. This is my dream seam. They just put plastic over the top and really make it reliable. And this is another form of flex retention. You can see there's an articulating cuff that goes almost back to the spine here, the backstay. And then it has another hard plastic spine too. So this has excellent flex retention as well. And while the Deadbolt doesn't have the best flex retention, it has a soft spine that's just boot material. It does have a nice articulation point though, and it held its flex a lot better than I thought it would for what kind of tech it has in comparison to these. But if you want a longer lasting boot, you want to look to the Nitro teams or the Bataleon Acid BOA boots. Now let's talk about the bottom part of the boot here. You have a Vibram sole, whatever you want to call it there, you got it. It's thick and it's going to last a long time. Then you have soft EVA foam, but not too soft, very shock absorbent though, going to an airbag in the back, which is exceptional. And this has this nice balance between being shock absorbent but not too soft and smushy on the bottom to hinder response, and it gives a little bit of board feel. It's obviously not the kind of boot you want to get if you're into board feel, but if you like traction and shock absorption and something in between that gives you a decent amount of board feel but excellent shock absorption, this will do the trick. It's definitely a step up from the Bataleon Acid BOA, and one of the reasons why I chose this as my daily driver over these other two. In comparison to the Deadbolt with the new technology that a lot of ride boots are getting these days, you get a much softer shock absorption and a decent sole. But what I found is this curves a little bit in the middle right here. Here's that curve I'm talking about right here. When I go to butter, sometimes this just lifts up and slides over towards the edges of my binding and it feels off. So it's a very soft sole in comparison to the Team and the Acid BOA. And the Acid BOA has Vibram 2, whatever the hell you want to call it, along with some D3O right there that really helps with dampening. But overall it goes shock absorption here. Both of these are equivalent shock absorption wise, but this has a little stiffer feel underfoot, where this feels a little softer underfoot. So when it comes to footprint, I measured all three of these, and it's hard to gauge the true toe heel drag on snow, but measuring from the heel here to the toe here, this is 29.6 centimeters, which is very reduced for a size 9. In comparison to the Ride Deadbolt in a size 9, which fits me true, this was 30.6 centimeters from heel to toe. Then the Bataleon Acid BOA is 30 centimeters from heel to toe. Now, it's hard to say what they'll be when you get into 10.5, 11, 12, 13, which is where having a reduced footprint is incredibly important. It's not usually as important in a size 9, but it's still very important. But I like where they are with 9, and if they're that way with 10, 11, 12, 13, and the half sizes, this will be great. From what I understand, they go one size per shell. They don't do half sizes, so they have a different size liner inside. But I'm not sure if the 10.5 is, let's say, using an 11 shell, or if it's using a 10 shell and a thinner liner. So that's a question for Nitro. And lastly, this insole that they have here isn't bad. It's pretty cushy, and it's one of the more well-made factory insoles that you get with your boot. I think they did a pretty good job, but when I take out that insole and put in my King Foam Orthotic Fluid X, it's like a higher level version of the Orthotic Elite. It really doubles the shock absorption and really helps with any boot I work with. Has a deeper heel cup, conforms more to your arch. When you press down in, the fluid presses up and fills in where your arch is. This is incredible. I'd still get an aftermarket insole if you can. Look at Remind, look at Footprint. I personally love Footprint and use them in almost every boot. But if you're just on a budget, you could only afford to get these boots, and you can't afford, let's say, $60-something for an extra insole, this is gonna work till you get that cash. And these insoles weren't as good as the Teams, but I suggest always getting an aftermarket insole with any boot you get. So overall, I was super impressed with the Team TLS. This is the boot I'm choosing to use for the season. I could have had a beautiful life with both of these, but I'm not young. There's not as much butter on the popcorn as there used to be. And so having a boot like this with all that shock absorption, but still having good response, having excellent construction that's gonna keep its flex a long time, this is what makes it a great boot for me. So there you have it.